I feel like one of the biggest challenges from a tech perspective is trying to convince stakeholders that we need to tear everything down and build it back up in a new tech stack.
Yeah.
That never goes over well in a conversation. But and that might be due to limitations, like we talked about before, with how a product was built to support the initial customers. It wasn't necessarily looked at to scale or grow, or it could be just a change in direction, which was sort of where we were at with Frontline, where we had a product. The product was succeeding. We had a second product, and that was starting to gain traction. We wanted to bring the products together, but because of the tech stack that we use, the architecture was made, it didn't lend itself to do that. So when we started proposing, we need to rewrite this in a different way so that we can integrate, obviously that didn't go over well. And when you're working with product management and they have their own priorities and backlogs and timeframes and whatnot, it's a hard sell. So we had the luxury of just going through an acquisition, which was bringing over this third product, I'll say, which we knew the concept behind this product was more of our central core of what we wanted to do for this solution. So it was an easier sell to say, hey, listen, we're going to rewrite this core into this newer technology that's going to support growth and scalability from this platform side. And that will allow us to take our two existing products and tie them in. So we had it was kind of a sweet spot there where we got to sell what needed to be done in terms of updating the tech on this acquired product, and we leveraged that to build out our platform. And really, when I say platform, I'm talking about our shared data model that equated into an actual product offering. Because that's the other thing, is if you go and you try to sell to the stakeholders, to the business, that, listen, we need X number of resources and dollars because we want to build this really cool integrated tech data solution that's going to support everything else we're currently doing, but trust us, it's going to make it better. That never really goes that far. So if you can put that behind some type of product value that your users are actually going to see added value to what they're experiencing, it makes that sell a lot easier. And that's what we do with that third product is, hey, we want to build out this platform because we know we need to integrate, but let's do it so that we can actually bring to market this product that we acquired in our suite of solutions.
Yeah, the return on investment conversation underpins any type of technical debt resolution. As engineers, as designers, we can get so passionate about the products that we are creating, right? The experiences that we are creating for customers. And that's awesome. That is a good thing. That's what hopefully makes us good at our jobs. But sometimes we're not so good about translating that into the business concerns. And every single hour we spend at a company, to some degree, somebody somewhere wants to know what's the return on investment of that. And I think that those who are more successful at transformation within, whether that's, again, resolving tech debt, building a platform like Chris is just describing here, expanding your brand, expanding the quality of experience that you're providing to customers, you got to be able to translate that to the executive team in terms of what's the return on investment here? What is the business getting out of the time and effort that we're spending there?
Can you tell us about that? Because I suspect the technical, well, you tell me, and Josh, maybe you were probably part of those conversations too. It's before my time, but I suspect the technical conversation happened first, and then a reconciling product conversation maybe happened afterwards, or was it the other way around?
I would suggest that I think there were two parallel conversations happening independently of each other, because
Okay.
at the time that this was all happening, um, Frontline had gotten acquired, right, by an investment company and was looking to significantly and rapidly grow the valuation of the company. And on the marketing side, there was a strong push to create a cohesive narrative about not just where we were, but where we were going that was platform focused, that we want to be all things to K-12 school administrators. At the same time that that was happening on the engineering side, we were having conversations about how do we get these products to speak to one another? How do we get them to communicate to one another? And everything that Chris outlined. And Chris, I know you can speak to that in better depth than I can, but that was being driven organically from the engineering team saying, we are going to get killed in the market if we cannot figure out how to get these things to communicate efficiently with one another and speak the same language. I guess on my side, the last two companies that I've been with since Frontline have both been smaller startup stages that have been looking to grow and grow fairly rapidly. At Red Rover, particularly, the company's been in business for just under 5 years, and we just launched our third product. So we
Okay.
are building out our portfolio pretty steadily. And I think because of the experience that many of the product team had with platforms in the past, at Red Rover, we've tried from day one to cast a slightly broader vision than you often do when you have a startup environment where you're trying to solve one problem. We said this is the playground that we want to play within, this whole K-12 administrative ecosystem, and we know that there are different parts of the playground that we eventually want to get to. So having that knowledge in the back of our minds has allowed us from scratch to start building core services and functions that cut across the entire suite, even as the first product is getting built or the second product is getting built. So in that way, having that knowledge, like anticipating it before you go in, has been really, really helpful. And having a vision that goes beyond one product, not necessarily as grand as like 10 or 20, something along those lines, but having a general sense of like, these are the problems that I'm solving now. These are the problems that I plan on solving next. And if we're successful, if we survive, these are probably some examples of the areas that we're going to go beyond that, has really helped to frame and give us a strategy for how to build out the ecosystem. There's definitely gaps in that, but that's one way that kind of from scratch we've been able to mitigate some of the challenges that are hidden in that chasm when you kind of just inherit a product or through acquisition, you now have to figure out how to put two and two together.